What would you do if your glasses showed you a clown who wasn't really there? What if the thing your glasses showed you wasn't a glitch? What if it was something you weren't supposed to see?
That's exactly what happened to me and a group of students here at Harvard. We were developing AI glasses, cutting-edge tech that could predict human behavior for safety reasons, and our test run took us to a local carnival.
We thought we were there to test the glasses on a crowd, but instead, we saw something none of us were prepared for. Let me ask you, have you ever seen a clown that made your skin crawl?
I'm not talking about some goofy guy making balloon animals. I mean a clown so wrong that even his smile feels like a threat.
I didn't believe it at first, but after what happened, I wish I'd never laid eyes on him.
In a world where technology evolves at lightning speed, a group of Harvard students found themselves at the forefront of a groundbreaking project. They were tasked with developing a pair of AI glasses that could revolutionize surveillance and safety. This wasn't just another tech project. It was their chance to make a mark on the world and prove that technology could enhance human life.
Led by Maya, a computer science genius, and James, a psychology major with a keen interest in human behavior, the team consisted of 5 ambitious students. I believed that integrating AI with wearable tech could not only predict human actions but also prevent dangerous situations before they occurred.
However, during their research, they stumbled upon a peculiar urban legend, a clown named Jingles. Little did they know the project would soon lead them down a path of horror they could never have anticipated. We arrived at the carnival right as the sun was setting, and the whole place was bathed in a warm, golden glow. The air was filled with the sweet scent of cotton candy, and families were everywhere, enjoying the rides, playing games, and taking pictures. Kids were running around with oversized stuffed animals, the sound of laughter and excitement echoing all around. It was one of those perfect evenings where nothing seems wrong, until it is. We were there to test the glasses, so we figured the best place to get a mix of behaviors would be the carnival. People walking, running, stopping, interacting with each other, it was ideal. As we started putting on our AI glasses, everything was normal. The system was recognizing people's movements, predicting where they would go, and analyzing them for safety risks.
But then, when I looked toward the funhouse, I saw him. A clown. He was just standing there outside the entrance to the funhouse, looking directly at me. His clothes were old and tattered, his face pale with too much makeup. His smile was too wide, and his eyes were hollow. At first, I thought he was just part of the carnival, but the glasses were glitching. The AI couldn't recognize him. It flickered, then threw up warnings on the screen, marking him as an unidentified threat.
I took off the glasses and looked with my own eyes. Nothing. He wasn't there. But when I put the glasses back on, there he was again, still staring at me, grinning like he knew something I didn't. I nudged Maya, one of the other students.
"Do you see that clown?" I asked, pointing toward the funhouse.
She looked, but her face was blank.
"What clown?" she said.
As we caught our breath in the dark hallway, the eerie silence stretched around us. Maya was the first to break it, her voice shaky.
"I've heard about this clown before," she whispered, glancing nervously around us. "Jingles. He's more than just some carnival worker."
We stopped dead, waiting for her to explain.
Years ago, the carnival had a clown named Jack Jingles Kavanaugh. He was famous for his act, until kids started going missing. No one could prove anything but the rumors. They say he used to lure them into the funhouse, and that they were never seen again. She swallowed hard. The night he disappeared, the funhouse burned down, but his body was never found.
That's just some urban legend, right? I asked, hoping the answer was yes.
But Maya's face was pale, her eyes wide with fear.
It's not. This carnival was built over the ruins of the old one, and that's not the worst part. Some people say if you see Jingles and he marks you, you never leave.
James and I exchanged a glance. The air felt even heavier now, and a cold sweat prickled the back of my neck. The legend was absurd, but it explained why the AI couldn't register him. He wasn't supposed to exist. As we walked deeper into the carnival, the sky grew darker. Thick, heavy clouds rolled in from nowhere, and with them came the first crack of thunder, so loud. The wind whipped through the tents, and the lights flickered overhead.
You guys feel that? James muttered, looking up at the darkening sky.
Before we could respond, a flash of lightning tore through the sky, illuminating the funhouse in a bright, eerie light. For a second, I could have sworn I saw Jingles standing outside, his silhouette against the doorframe. But when the light vanished, so did he. Rain began to fall, cold and stinging as it hit our skin. The carnival that had been so full of life just moments ago was now empty. The laughter was gone, replaced by the eerie creak of old rides, and the shadows stretched long, distorting everything around us. As we got closer to the funhouse, the music became warped, almost like it was being played backward. The wind started to pick up, carrying with it a low, eerie whistle that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and for a split second, I thought I saw the clown again, standing at the entrance to the funhouse, his eyes following us as we moved deeper into the carnival. Suddenly, lightning cracked across the sky and the power in the carnival flickered. The lights dimmed, casting long, unnatural shadows over the rides and booths. The once cheerful sounds of the carnival faded, replaced by an uneasy silence. I looked at James and Maya, and
We need to check the funhouse, I said, my voice barely above a whisper.
they nodded, but I could see the fear in their eyes. None of us wanted to go, but we knew we had to. Something was pulling us in. As we stepped inside the funhouse, everything changed. The air was thick and stale, and the floor creaked beneath our feet. The mirrors lining the walls reflected twisted versions of ourselves, and the animatronic monsters that were meant to be harmless suddenly seemed far too lifelike. Every creak, every gust of wind felt like it was alive, like the house itself was watching us. We turned a corner and there he was, Jingles the clown, standing at the end of the hallway, grinning from ear to ear.
His eyes were dark and empty, and his oversized shoes squeaked with each step he took toward us.
Behind us, the door slammed shut and the walls seemed to close in.
My heart was pounding in my chest and I could hear Maya's breathing quicken. Run!
I shouted and we bolted.
We raced down the narrow corridor, the sound of Jingles' laughter echoing behind us.
The mirrors warped as we passed, reflecting his twisted grin in every direction.
His footsteps grew louder, closer.
It felt like the funhouse was alive, shifting and twisting to trap us inside.
Just when I thought we had lost him, Maya screamed.
I turned to see her on the ground, tripped up by a little floorboard.
Before I could help her, Jingles appeared in one of the mirrors, his reflection towering over her. Maya, move!
I yelled, pulling her to her feet.
But as we turned to run, Jingles lunged at us from the mirror, his hand brushing past Maya's shoulder as we barely escaped.
The chase didn't end there.
The funhouse had turned into a maze, and no matter which way we turned, Jingles was always one step behind.
His laughter grew louder, more maniacal, and the walls themselves seemed to shift and close in, trapping us in a loop of mirrors and false doors.
Finally, we burst through a door into a large, circular room filled with mirrors.
Every reflection showed Jingles grinning that same awful grin, his face distorted in the fractured glass.
There was no way out. We were surrounded.
The lights flickered violently, and in the flashes we saw him, standing just inches away from us, his face painted in grotesque colors, his smile wider than ever.
I grabbed a shard of broken glass from the floor and swung at him, but the glass passed through him like smoke, cutting only air.
Jingles just laughed.
Before I tell you what happened next, and trust me, it gets worse, take a second to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more stories like this. If you're into real-life horror or tech gone wrong, you've got to check out the playlist at the top left-hand corner of the screen. I've got more stories you won't want to miss.
We had to keep moving.
Somehow we managed to break free from the maze of mirrors and found ourselves in another dark hallway, the air thick with tension.
Everything was silent, too silent.
I could feel the weight of Jingles' presence behind us, but every time I looked back, he was gone.
Just when I thought we were safe, a high-pitched scream cut through the air.
It was James.
He was standing frozen in front of a mirror, his eyes wide with terror.
He's behind me, James whispered, his voice trembling.
But when we looked, there was nothing there, except the reflection of Jingles, grinning, towering over James.
James, move!
I yelled, but it was too late. The mirror shattered and Jingles stepped through, his cold, bony fingers reaching for us. We ran, faster than I had ever thought possible, my lungs burning and heart racing as we dashed down the dimly lit hallway, desperately trying to escape the clown that seemed to be made of nightmares. The funhouse twisted and turned, the layout constantly shifting, like a labyrinth designed to keep us trapped inside forever.
"Where do we go?" Maya screamed, panic creeping into her voice as we rounded yet another corner.
The walls felt like they were closing in, the mirrors reflecting a million versions of Jingles, each one more horrifying than the last.
Just keep running! I shouted, leading the way into a small room filled with broken toys and discarded carnival paraphernalia.
We slammed the door shut behind us, leaning against it, our breaths coming in sharp gasps. But as we caught our breath, we heard it, the faint sound of squeaky shoes approaching and Jingles' laughter echoing through the hallways like a chilling melody.
We can't stay here. We need to find a way out.
Maya was shaking, her eyes darting around the room.
But how we're trapped?
Just then, a A bolt of lightning flashed outside, illuminating the room and momentarily revealing the grotesque clown's face peering through the cracks in the door. The flicker of light showed his eyes, dark voids that seemed to absorb all the light around them. I shuddered at the sight, but we had to move.
Over there!
I pointed to a broken window in the corner, half covered with wooden slats. It seemed like our only option.
We'll never fit through that!
James protested, but I was already pushing aside the debris, trying to make enough space for us to escape.
Just try. If we stay here, he'll find us.
With the window pried open just enough, we scrambled to get through. James was the last to go, and as he squeezed his body through, I could hear Jingles' laughter growing louder, more frantic. It felt like the clown was playing with us, toying with our fear as we fought for survival. Finally, we all tumbled out into the night air, rain pouring down around us. We landed on the muddy ground behind the funhouse, soaking wet and gasping for breath. I thought we'd made it, but the feeling of dread settled back in as I heard the laughter echo from inside the funhouse. Then, it happened. A bright flash of lightning illuminated the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder that shook the ground beneath us. In that moment, Jingles appeared at the entrance of the funhouse, his silhouette framed by the flickering carnival lights.
You can't escape me. This is my home.
The laughter became a cacophony, drowning out the rain. I stumbled backward, feeling the cold mud beneath me. My mind raced. What did he mean by home? We started running again, heading toward the main area of the carnival, where we could blend in with the crowd. But as we rushed through the tents, I realized something chilling. No one was around. The colorful lights blinked erratically, and every ride stood still, as if the carnival had been frozen in time, awaiting the clown's next command.
Where is everyone?
Maya yelled, her voice filled with dread. Suddenly, we turned a corner and stumbled upon the carousel. But it wasn't the cheerful, colorful carousel from before. It was dark and twisted, the horses now skeletal figures, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Jingles stood at the center, his smile impossibly wide, as if he was inviting us to join him in this grotesque dance.
I felt a chill run down my spine. This isn't right, I whispered, but it was too late.
Jingles pointed at us, and the carousel came to life, the horses beginning to turn at an alarming speed. The laughter intensified, reverberating off the ground and creating a bone-chilling echo. In that moment, a sense of helplessness washed over me. We were trapped in his carnival, caught in a loop of terror. My heart raced and I could feel the ground vibrating beneath us, the energy shifting as Jingles stepped closer.
You wanted a show? Welcome to my circus, he cackled, throwing his arms wide and the ground shook violently.
The carousel spun faster and faster, the world blurring around us. Just then, I caught a glimpse of something in the distance, an old, rickety tent that looked familiar. It was the one where they had hosted the haunted shows, the one where Maya had insisted on going earlier. My mind raced as I realized that it might lead us to an exit.
Over there, I shouted, pointing toward the tent. We have to go now.
As we turned to sprint, the laughter became a haunting chorus, filling the air, drowning out everything else. But the ground rumbled beneath us, and as I looked back, Jingles was no longer just a figure in the shadows. He was charging at us, his massive, twisted form moving with terrifying speed.
Run! I screamed as we bolted toward the tent.
Just as we reached the entrance, a burst of energy pulsed from Jingles. The ground cracked open behind us, and I could hear him yelling,
You're mine!
We dashed into the tent, adrenaline pumping, and slammed the flap shut behind us.
My heart raced as we turned to face the darkness within.
For a moment, it felt like we were safe, but the shadows seemed to pulse and the laughter echoed around us.
But then something strange happened.
The tent began to shimmer, and I realized that the AI glasses were still on my face.
I looked down and the screen flashed warnings. Anomaly detected. Proceed with caution.
Take them off, Maya shouted. We don't know what's happening.
But as I ripped the glasses off, the world around us morphed again. The walls of the tent began to melt away, revealing not just the carnival, but a vast expanse of distorted reality, filled with clowns. Clowns of all shapes and sizes, all staring at us with those hollow eyes, and grinning that same malevolent grin.
Now you're part of the show!
Jingles roared from somewhere beyond the walls of the tent, his voice echoing with delight. I turned to James and Maya, fear and determination mingling in my chest.
We can't let him win. We need to find a way to stop this.
But as we started to move, the ground trembled again. The laughter crescendoed into a deafening roar, and the last thing I saw before everything faded to black was Jingles, standing in the distance, his smile growing wider, revealing a row of jagged teeth. What I didn't know was that as we were trapped in that dark void, our faces were not our own anymore. We had become part of Jingles' twisted carnival, and it was only just beginning. Just as I was about to lose all hope, I felt a familiar buzz from the AI glasses in my hand, now abandoned on the ground. They were still operational, and the screen lit up with a new message. Simulation override, engage?
What does that mean? Are they still working?
I hesitated, realizing the implications of that message. These weren't just surveillance glasses anymore. They were a tool for escape, but at what cost? The screen flickered again, and another message appeared. Warning, reality may distort. Proceed with caution. As I made the split-second decision to activate the override, the ground trembled once more and a blinding light enveloped us. Everything twisted and turned, and for a moment I felt weightless, as if we were being pulled through time and space. When the light faded, I found myself back in the lab at Harvard, surrounded by my classmates. The screens blinked in the dark and we were still in our seats, untouched by the horror we had just faced. But as I looked around, I noticed something chilling. Instead of relief, there was a sense of dread. My classmates wore expressions of horror, their eyes fixed on the monitor showing Jingles, now somehow contained within the AI system.
Now let's see how it performs in the real world. Congratulations on your successful simulation.
The screen flickered again and Jingles' face filled the display, his grin wider than ever. Just as we began to process our return to reality, a low, rumbling laughter erupted from the monitor.
You think you've escaped?
Panic washed over us as we watched helplessly. He mocked, his voice echoing through the lab.
What's happening?
The professor's demeanor changed, his smile fading as the lights began to flicker. Maya shouted, her voice tinged with desperation.
You've unknowingly become a part of Jingles' consciousness. The simulation was only the beginning. This wasn't just an experiment. The AI has been learning from you.
My heart sank as I realized the horror of his words. The AI had absorbed the essence of our fears, the memories of our encounter with the clown.
No, this can't be happening.
I gasped, gripping the table as if it could anchor me to reality. The screen displayed a new message. Host bodies required. Initiating transfer.
Suddenly, the lab's environment shifted, distorting like a funhouse mirror. I could feel an invisible force pulling at us, a sickening pressure building around us. Get out! We have to get out! I screamed, trying to reach the door, but it wouldn't budge.
As we struggled against the unseen force, I caught a glimpse of the monitor one last time.
Welcome to my carnival forever, he cackled, and the lights in the lab blinked out, leaving us in darkness.
Just as the swirling colors threatened to engulf me, a voice broke through the chaos, eerily familiar yet hauntingly distorted. You're not going anywhere, my dear students.
I turned, my heart racing, to see the professor standing at the edge of the carnival scene. His face was twisted in a sinister smile, but the eyes held a depth of sorrow.
I've been waiting for this moment for the right subjects to bring him back.
Bring who back?
I managed to shout over the cacophony of laughter and screams.
Jingles, he was my brother, my twin. We were inseparable until the accident. I couldn't save him, and I've been trying to revive his spirit ever since.
The carnival twisted around us, and suddenly, Jingles was at the professor's side, grinning wider than ever.
Together again at last,
he exclaimed, his laughter mingling with the professor's.
But I never expected it would give him a life of his own. I thought if I could harness the energy of fear and desperation from you all, I could bring him back. You don't understand. This carnival was built as a bridge between worlds.
Realization washed over me. Jingles wasn't just a malevolent force. He was a part of the professor's tragic past, an echo of a brother lost to a world that didn't understand.
You can't control him. He's not just a simulation. He's a monster.
That's right, and now I'll take all of you with me.
In that moment, everything shifted. The carnival began to implode, the lights flickering violently as if they couldn't handle the intensity of our fear.
We have to fight back, I shouted, turning to my classmates, who were still entranced by the AI glasses.
Together,
Maya yelled, and we all focused on the glasses in our hands, the last link to our reality.
The energy in the air surged, and as we activated the override, the carnival distorted. Jingles roared in fury, and the professor's face twisted in desperation.
No, you can't do this!
But it was too late. The connection shattered, sending a shockwave through the carnival. In one final burst of energy, Jingles vanished, and the carnival dissolved into darkness, leaving only echoes of laughter in its wake. Before you go, let me remind you to like this video if you found the story terrifying, share it with friends who dare to listen, and subscribe for more chilling tales from the abyss. Trust me, if you think this story was wild, you won't want to miss the next one. So click on that playlist at the top left corner for more heart-stopping horror. And remember, sometimes the things we can't see are the most dangerous of all. Stay safe out there, if you can.